We got a wide range of things to talk about on the show today. We're excited to get going. We're going to be talking about when or how to use annuities in your portfolio. Annuities may not be for everybody, but wouldn't it be nice to know how you may or may not be able to use them? We're going to be talking about fees and commissions. How do people get paid when they're helping you or when you're investing? What is a Roth conversion? How does that look like? How do you do it? And what does that mean? And finally, we're going to be talking about when to take Social Security. We're going to take a little bit different look at this than maybe what you think.
Retiring Well, brought to you by Centennial Wealth Advisory, financial advisors specializing in retirement planning and serving all of Northern Michigan. Retiring Well, helping you plan for a successful and comfortable retirement. Retiring Well, plan to retire well.
Let's talk a little bit about how to use annuities in your portfolio. So again, annuities are going to be held through different life insurance companies, and they're going to have served different purposes. So I've learned over the years that annuities tend to get a bad reputation. I think they're primarily used improperly, or maybe the insurance agent that's selling them doesn't maybe disclose all of the ins and outs of how they work. So they may be set up in an improper structure to begin with. So examples of how I've seen them used over time may include a basic fixed interest rate. So these might be referred to as a multi-year guaranteed annuity, where they're going to set a fixed interest rate for a fixed number of years. So that might be two years outwards of maybe 10 years that you may set that up. And so you're just going to get that same interest rate each and every year, compounding over the period of time. Another way to use these annuities may be as an income stream. So we've seen situations where people maybe are offered a pension plan through their former employer, and they're evaluating whether they want to leave that in control of their employer, or if it's something where they want to take a lump sum from that pension and maybe look at generating a set income stream. So you can set these up in the annuities. You can defer the income for a period of years, maybe allowing that to grow, and then it'll pay you a set amount for the remainder of your life. And if you're married, then potentially you can set those up to pay a fixed amount of income for both of your lifetimes. And with that, you're typically paying some type of additional rider cost in order to guarantee that income. But again, there's different ways to approach this. Another might be where it's a fixed indexed annuity. So your returns or interest rate is going to be tied to a specific index in the market, such as, say, the S&P 500. So again, with this, you're going to be looking at some type of time commitment, where you're going to be in this account for a period of 5 years, 7 years, 10 years. There's some that go way out to 14 years. And so you're going to have earnings crediting, say, on an annual, or sometimes a couple, every 2 years, 3 years, however that may be structured. And during that time frame, you're limited on how much you can access out of the annuity. So insurance companies, I've found over the years, have a lot of different strengths. And so one thing I encourage you to do is, if you're going out shopping for the annuities, shop around a little bit. There's a number of different carriers out there, and we encourage you, if you have questions about that, we'd love to sit down with you and talk to you further.
Hey, welcome back to that little section on annuities. When I'm in a meeting and I'm talking to clients or prospective clients, and they ask, hey, I've heard about annuities or something, I'm always curious what they're feeling or what they're thinking or what they're carrying inside with their experience with annuities. And so I use that time to just say, hey, imagine the color wheel. Imagine how many different colors there are out there. You're sitting on your couch, just imagine all of the different colors that there are. You know there's a lot. Then you think about annuities and how many different annuities there are. I think it's a close analogy there. There's beautiful colors, and from my perspective, there's ugly colors, and you might feel the same. And so when it comes to annuities, we always want to make sure that we are really, really picky with them. There's purpose with positions. And there are times where somebody's retirement plan, the purpose of their retirement plan is to have an annuity. Well, we want to be really picky. We love that we are independent. We're not captive to one product or one company. That gives us a lot of freedom to always make sure that our clients can have the best color placed in front of them for the purpose of what they're trying to accomplish.
Yeah, I love that line, picking the annuity for a purpose, right? And that's kind of what we need to dial in for your retirement plan, if the annuity even makes sense for you. Recent case over in the Gaylord office, I had a younger couple come in that had a healthy pension and also a healthy savings as well. But because the gentleman worked for the federal government, he had not paid into Social Security because he got that nice pension. So he wasn't going to have Social Security some 10 years down the road when he was actually going to retire. What we decided on, and what made the most sense for his situation, was an income annuity, one specific product that was going to meet his needs. Reason behind that product was, well, if he wasn't going to have Social Security at age 62 or full retirement age, we wanted to supplement that. And the best product that we could find was an income annuity that we could defer 10 years down the road to when he was actually going to retire. And it made up for the fact that he didn't have any kind of Social Security whatsoever. So it was just a great scenario, but it's so important to understand, like Jack was saying, all those different annuity products out there, because typically we can find one that'll meet your needs. So stay tuned. Coming up next, we're going to talk about fees and commissions, and then also Roth conversions.
If you are retired or soon to be retired, let us help you plan to retire well. Centennial Wealth Advisory specializes in retirement planning and has offices in Traverse City, Cadillac, Petoskey, and Gaylord. We'll never pressure anyone to become a client. Our goal is to inform and educate. Simply attend one of our live events or schedule a meeting at one of our Northern Michigan office locations for a free, no obligation retirement review.
Financial planning is more than just providing for yourself. It's making sure your loved ones are taken care of. It's preserving and protecting what you've worked for all those years. It's leaving a legacy to your children and grandchildren. It's providing a level of stability and security. Planning is the first step to succeeding. Plan to retire well.
Your grandchildren are precious to you. They are your life. This is your time to have that special relationship. Taking care of yourself is taking care of them. Centennial Wealth Advisory is offering a free, no-obligation retirement review to make sure you don't run out of money during your retirement. Centennial Wealth Advisory. Your best is yet to come.
Let's take a few minutes and talk about fees and commissions. You know, I have yet to meet a financial advisor that's a nonprofit. So typically for advice they're providing or investments they're rendering, there's going to be some cost associated with that. So I want to talk through some of the major categories that we see typically. Now, note there's other things out there that could associate fees, but these are the major ones right now. So if you're working with some sort of insurance product, think life insurance, annuities, typically the advisor gets paid a commission from the company on those. So oftentimes you may not see as a customer of those an actual fee per se for that investment. Now they can add things on top of those, like as an example, like a rider for a death benefit or an income rider, something like that. There's a guaranteed income stream where they may charge some fee associated with that, and that is billed directly to the account. So maybe that's some sort of percentage typically of what that is. So that's how typically insurance products, there's compensation for those. Think of a mutual fund now. Oftentimes many folks have these. Well, they have expense ratio. So these are general administrative, research costs that's built into that. And these are disclosed to the prospectus of the account. So when you enter these, you're given this prospectus. And oftentimes as things have changed, you'll get these in the mail. And in there, they're to disclose what that expense ratio is and how those costs are. So those are typically being deducted right from that fund. So it kind of comes out of the performance, if you will, of that account. So you don't necessarily see see it as transparent, but you see it in that perspective early on. Think of like managed assets, or some people call them assets under management. This is where typically an advisor is actively managing your accounts and deciding on different portfolios or structures that are appropriate for you, and they're typically charging a percentage of what they're taking care of. Oftentimes that's somewhere between 1.5%, 2%, depending upon the advisor and the situation, the type of services they're offering. And once again, that's disclosed to you in an agreement or contract typically you're signing at the beginning of that relationship. What about like fees that happen, not behind the scenes, but other things that can happen out there? Think of your money is typically held at a custodian, the big custodians, Fidelity, Schwab, Vanguard, all of that sort of stuff. It wasn't that long ago, trading fees were fairly common, where maybe you would pay a certain amount or percentage based on the trade. With competition now and electronic stuff, trading has gotten less expensive and oftentimes free. So sometimes that. If you close an account, usually a qualified account, IRAs, Roth IRAs, stuff like that, oftentimes there'll be an account closing fee through custodians. So folks, these are some of the various charges that maybe you see. And one of the most important things we can stress about fees is likely there's some fees coming from somewhere. It's important for you as an investor to know what those are and if you're okay with them and how your financial professional is getting paid. So if you don't know, ask questions, look at your statements, and seek out what that is so you can be best educated on what those fees are to you.
In today's day and age, with a longer lifespan, you're more likely to encounter both good and bad market performance. For that reason, when planning for retirement, it's increasingly important to seek guidance from a financial advisor who can help you structure an income strategy that reflects your financial situation, risk tolerance, and investment objectives. You don't want just any advice, but objective financial advice. With so much at stake, it's important that you feel you can trust a financial advisor to consider a wide variety of possible solutions, including both investment and insurance products. Here at Centennial Wealth Advisory, we're not beholden to any certain investment tools or vehicles. We're independent. We can offer a wide variety of investment tools that meet your needs. So please, if you have any questions or you want to schedule an initial consultation, don't hesitate to give us a call at the number on the screen. We're happy to help in any way that we can.
Roth conversions, what exactly are they and how might they be used? So the first thing I'd put out there is you want to consult a tax planning professional. I know here at our office we like to run sort of a mock tax return to sort of see, okay, by doing something this way, here's what the tax impact would be, so that you're fully aware of what that looks like before moving forward. This is also something you want to be reviewing on an annual basis. I've heard so often where people, well, I talked to my accountant about that years ago and we decided it wasn't a good idea. Well, in our opinion, it's something that should be looked at year in and year out to ensure that you're taking advantage of the different opportunities that might be available to you. So when you're looking at your IRA or 401k or 403b, the withdrawals from this are going to be fully taxable when you take those funds out. So keep in mind you have a partner in your retirement account, Uncle Sam, and potentially maybe the state of Michigan as well. And so this is where this concept of a Roth conversion may come into play for you. So you're taking a taxable amount of money and you're going to shift that over to a tax-free tax-free Roth IRA. Now, again, this is a taxable event, so you're going to pay taxes as you shift that money from a taxable IRA over to a Roth IRA, and it's usually not done all at once. You don't want to convert, all of your retirement accounts all in 1 year because that could create a large taxable event. So you may be looking at doing this over a period of years. It can be done that way, but normally we see a little bit each year. So now that you've shifted some money from your taxable IRA over to Roth, it grows tax-free, and then future distributions are tax-free after it's been in there accumulating for at least 5 years. So a way that you can look at this is maybe tax bracket optimization. So let's imagine you're currently in the 12% tax bracket and you have some additional room still at the 12% rate. Well, maybe it makes sense to maximize that bracket and shift some additional funds over. The earlier that you get those funds into the Roth IRA, it allows that much more time for the interest to grow tax-free. The Tax Cuts and Jobs Act signed into law at the end of 2017 reduced tax brackets from what typically was used to be like a 15% tax bracket to 12%, and then from 25% to 22%, and that's assuming if nothing were to change between 2018 to 2025. A lot of times people will bring up Roth contribution limits. That's specific to how much you're contributing, not converting from IRA to Roth. So again, a lot of different factors to consider, and we'd love the opportunity to sit down with you and talk about this further.
Hey, welcome back to such an important concept in the financial world, and that's fees and commission. How do we get paid? What does it cost you? Those are things that I think are very, very important for you to know. We have a tool, a third party that we use to run risk and fee analysis. And sometimes it feels like we have to be private investigators just to figure out what these prospective clients come in with. Hey, I got some statements and I don't really know how much I'm paying. And we have to dig through all of that just to get to that answer. And so, one of the things that I love about what we get to do personally here at Centennial Wealth is in the first meeting we say, hey, this is how we get paid, this is where we get paid, this is what we get paid. It's a very transparent conversation. And so, can you imagine trying to buy something and not know how much it's going to cost? It's probably going to make you feel uncomfortable. And so that transparency from the first meeting is a great way for us to do business. So if you're at all questioning what you might be paying, if you're unsure, give us a call. We'd love to help you figure that out. And then you can make a decision based on actual facts, information that you've figured out with our help.
Yeah, along with that, fees, how we get paid, there's a lot of services that we offer that are included in those fees, not just investment planning, but it's tax planning as well. And another topic they talked about there in that segment was Roth conversions. I know we kind of pound that topic in almost every week, it seems like, but it's just such an important tax planning tool that is out there that we want to make sure all of our clients are aware of. And even if you're not of age 59 and a half, you can still do Roth conversions. I had a client in the Petoskey office just recently, younger client, who didn't realize that they could access their IRA under the age of 59 and a half without that 10% penalty if they did Roth conversions. And based on his income situation and where his tax bracket fell, it made the most sense to start those Roth conversions even before he was retired so that he could buy out Uncle Sam now and not have to worry about taxes when retirement actually rolls around. So lots of great information there in that segment, understanding how fees work and then also those Roth conversions. So stay tuned. Coming up next, we're going to be talking about a very hot topic, when to take Social Security. Stay tuned.
Living life isn't always easy. It puts up challenges and obstacles you'll have to overcome. There are responsibilities. You put in effort to provide and take care of your family, and to save and invest, to balance work and life. Planning is the first step to succeeding. Plan to retire well.
You can have a portfolio or you can have a plan. You can play it safely or you can safely plan. You can guess when to take Social Security, or you can make your decision based on detailed analysis. You can hope your savings will last your entire retirement, or you can take action and know. You can let life happen to you, or you can take control. You can go it alone, or you can have an experienced guide ready to walk with you every step of the way. We are Centennial Wealth Advisory, financial planners serving all of Northern Michigan, offices in Gaylord, Petoskey, Traverse City, and Cadillac. Simply call the number on your screen for a complimentary initial consultation and let us help you plan to retire well.
When to take Social Security, possibly maybe one of the most questions we get here. I was literally just out and about in public at an event, and somebody come up to me and, hey, let's talk about Social Security. When do you think I should take it? You know, and you may be wondering this if you already haven't taken this. And obviously, if we knew how long your life was going to be, it'd make that question fairly easy to answer. Longevity is a big piece of that. But today, I want to talk about 3 things that maybe are out of the normal that a lot of people consider when talking about Social Security. 1, surviving spouse. This is assuming you're currently married, and one of the 2 spouses is going to have a bigger benefit. Well, oftentimes in today's world where there's not a pension or a pension to leave behind, you want to grow that guaranteed income stream as big as possible, leave behind. If you don't already know, you get to keep the higher of the 2 for a surviving spouse. So potentially it may make sense for you to have that one person's benefit grow to be as big as it can to leave as that bigger benefit for that survivor, since they're going to lose a portion of that, you know, the smaller one. So having a bigger benefit long term. The second thing is other assets. Think of Social Security like a cumulative asset. If you're going to live X number of years, there's going to be a pot of money that's accumulated over time. Oftentimes people have other assets in, let's say, lower yielding funds or even savings accounts. You know, Social Security grows about 5% per year from 62 to full retirement age. After full retirement age to 70, it grows about 8% per year. So think of that from a return perspective on an asset, not just as an income stream. So you have an asset that's appreciating by that percentage, maybe versus another asset that is making little to nothing. So just from a return on an asset perspective, consider that. The third thing I want to talk about is tax planning. I know taxes, we constantly talk about this, but consider the tax impact of when you take Social Security. 1, if you take it early, and how that may affect the long-term taxability of that over time, considering your other assets if you have IRAs, 401ks, and such. The other thing is, fast forward maybe a few years and consider required minimum distribution age, the age of 72. What does taxation look like at that time with your other assets and your Social Security? Remember how Social Security is taxed, and by the more other incomes you have, it makes more of your Social Security tax and all that. So if you don't have a tax plan hand in hand when you're discussing when to take Social Security, the plan could be flawed because it may have a major impact. If you're accumulating taxable assets and that pot is growing, remember that could affect how your Social Security is taxed. So in a nutshell, once again, when to take Social Security is a pretty complex question. Typically, this should be mapped out in detail with your overall retirement plan, which includes your income, investment, taxes, and estate plan of how this should be distributed. If you don't have this or you have further questions, give us a call. We'd love to talk to you more about this and see how we may be best to determine what makes sense for you.
Hey, welcome back. When to take Social Security? What a great question. You know, one thing it makes me think of is some words that I think are really important to anybody's situation, and that would be contractual lifetime income. What contractual lifetime income do you have in your story? Do any of them have cost of living adjustments? You know, with Social Security, we can get pretty close to know what those contractual lifetime income sources might be for you, and also some projected COLAs that you might receive. And so if you're ever curious about, hey, what are my numbers? You know, sit down, think about, you know, what other sources of those contractual income might you have? We get asked the question all of the time, when should I take Social Security? And the answer is, I think a lot of times found in the income plans that we build out, where we start looking at the whole picture, not just one source. I love the predictability of it. I love the equation type feature of Social Security, and so it helps in planning. But to get the real answer, you really have to have more information. And so if you're ever, you know, curious, what should my plan be? We find the answers always are in between, you know, hey, what is 62? Yeah, for that person, that makes sense to them, starting right at 62. And then some people, they need to grow that income because it's their only source of contractual income. So they might find it's 67 or even delay until 70. So, you know, feel free to give us a call and we can help map that out for you.
Yeah, I mean, there's no general answer as far as when you should start Social Security. It's so personal based on your situation. I mean, all the time in the Gaylord office, we run across scenarios where people want to take it right away, but then they see what the numbers look like if they just waited a couple more years and watch that Social Security just grow for them over the long term. Sometimes it does make sense to defer payments. Recently in the Gaylord office, we had a client that all he wanted to do in retirement was work at the golf course, and he thought he'd make somewhere between $15,000 to $18,000 a year working at the golf course. Well, when we ran that through our income plan, it made the most sense if he was going to continue to work at the golf course to delay his Social Security all the way to age 70 for him. So it just really pays to plan, to make sure you have that income plan in place. So hopefully you found that very valuable. Please, I mean, we go over a lot of different general questions and answers with you, but there's so much more that is more personal, and we'd love to help. So if you have any questions or you want to schedule that free, no obligation consultation, please don't hesitate to give us a call. All right, we'll see you next week, same station, same time. Take care.